Hi, good evening. This is Vedam Jaishankar talking to you at the end of the third test at Rajkot between India and England. It has been a totally one sided result. India has thrashed England by 434 runs. It's not so much the margin of victory. In fact, if you really look at the scoreboards and look at it dispassionately, you would see that England has actually lost by an innings and 4 runs, not just 434 runs. And that is the tragedy which England has to live with. They came here with a very, very hyped concept of baseball. I say hyped because many of the Indian media persons and cricket followers were actually salivating at the idea of England coming with baseball as if that is going to win everything in front of them. But what we have seen of baseball is under certain conditions, it can work. Ultimately, cricket is a game where you have to play according to the situation. Whether you're a batsman or a bowler, you have to play according to the situation and as per whatever is given. If you're a fast bowler who loves to bounce it and you find a wicket that where the ball doesn't bounce at all and you keep saying this is the way I bowl, then you're going to come to grief. And that's exactly what England found. They might have made 122 runs in the second innings, but at one stage it looked like there would be 70 or 80 all out. In fact, they were 82 for 8. But for Mark Wood coming and throwing his bat around, he top scored actually with 33 runs. But for that, there would have been about 80 or even 85 all out. So this is a pasting that England will not forget. It is a horrendous pasting. A pasting that I don't know, there are 2 more tests to go, whether they'll recover from that quickly enough. But the story now is India is leading by 2 tests to 1. Actually, if we had played a little sharper in the first test, which we lost marginally, it would have been 3-love by now. So I think England must realize that even this is not the first choice Indian team. Many of the players are not first choice players. I think, like I said yesterday, 4 to 5 players are missing from the first choice team. And despite that, they have given such a heavy pasting to England. So I think baseball, maybe like I said, in certain condition it will work. But in India, against Indian bowlers, especially if you're chasing, batting fourth in India is never easy. Irrespective of who you are, even if it's an Indian team, chasing a target of even 250 would be very, very difficult. Batting last, very difficult. Somebody like Virat Kohli had made himself the master of the chase. So he could do it and he won many matches for us. But otherwise, batting last, even for Indian team on Indian pitches is very difficult. And certainly this England team had no clue at all. Yesterday and even day before yesterday, I said the challenge would be to take this match to the 5th day. If they take it to the 5th day and England are left with a small total, there is no way they will play an Ashwin or a Jadeja or even a Kuldeep Yadav or one of the fast bowlers reversing the ball on a 5th day pitch. There is no way they would have done it. But what we saw is on the 4th day itself, after tea, the team just crumbled. You can't say it's a bad wicket because look at what happened earlier. Earlier in the day, Yashasvi Jaiswal, let's look at what Yashasvi Jaiswal has done. I would say he scored 2 centuries, not a double century, 2 centuries in this innings. He had 104 runs before he was injured. He was injured and he retired hurt yesterday. He came back today at the fall of the first wicket, morning first wicket, and then scored another 100. Literally, it was 200s. So a youngster like Yashasvi Jaiswal making 214 not out, to 104 before he got injured, 110 after he got injured. And what a way he played today. I've got full admiration for the youngster. He's just 22 years of age, not even 23, 22 years of age. He's come from a real tough background. He's moved from UP to Bombay when he was 10, or I beg your pardon, when he was 12. And in 10 years that he's been in Bombay, he slogged it out. It's not that it was a bed of roses for him. He slogged it out, doing all odds and bits, pieces of work so that he could pay for his boarding and lodging. and he literally stayed in the groundsman's tent because he couldn't afford anything better. And look at the way the guy has come up. There is so much hunger. This is his seventh test. He's got two double hundreds and one huge 171 on debut against West Indies in West Indies. That is the 100 he got on debut. And since then, everything that he has done shows that he is today India's number one batsman, at least in this present lineup. Maybe if Kohli comes back, then Kohli will be the number one batsman. But otherwise, as it stands today, Yashasvi Jaiswal in this present lineup, he is your number one batsman. He's your main batsman and he's proved it. In three tests, he's got two double hundreds and a knock of 80, which shows how outstanding he's been opening batsman against some very good English bowling. He's really weathered it and played some brilliant strokes right through. So for me, Jaiswal is number one out there, and today he proved it all over again. Another case we need to look at is Sarfaraz Khan. Sarfaraz Ahmad, beg your pardon, Sarfaraz played brilliantly today. He played very well in the first knock. First knock, the way he took the spinners apart. And today what we saw was, in the company of Jaiswal, both the youngsters had just been given the green signal. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. And what an innings both of them played. The way Jaiswal tore into Anderson, 3 sixes in 1 over of Anderson. Amazing. You got to admire the gumption of a youngster who can take on one of the world's maybe best fast medium bowlers. And he took him on and hit him for 3 sixes in 1 over. And Sarfaraz was not lagging behind. There was a cheeky ramp shot of his, which he played once, but otherwise he also played some terrific strokes all round the wicket. And this added to that first innings 50, where he danced down the tracks to the spinners and hit them brilliantly. And again in this particular innings, both of them, let me get that precise. They put together a partnership of 162 unbeaten runs for the fifth wicket. I wanted to be precise with that. 162 runs, unbroken runs for the fifth wicket. And what they did, they played baseball. England was being paid back in their own coin. They played baseball. They went hammer and tongs at this English bowling. And we were talking about a lead of about 450 runs by tea. No way. These guys did all that even before lunch. They just went after the bowling. And what an innings. And I think this England team will never forget it. Actually, by the time England came back to begin the chase, they had to get 500 and odd runs. The way they came, they were a disjointed side. Their fight had been knocked out of them. And I think it would have been made worse when they saw somebody like Ashwin warming up. Ashwin had been flown back on a chartered jet by the BCCI after he had attended to his family emergencies. And there he was, warming up right in front of the English dressing room. Now that was a psychological battle, wasn't it? That was a blow that England must have been shocked. They knew that they were taking on Jadeja and Ashwin on a last day pitch. When I say last day pitch, I mean last innings pitch. And that would not have been a good sight. It's bad enough that you're chasing more than 500 runs and then you look up and see these two guys warming up. That's enough. And it looked like it because by the time the tea break came, England was 18 for 2. One very bad run out, which I think was a brilliant piece of wicket keeping by Jurel. Siraj threw it at him and he was off balance, but he corrected beautifully and ran out Duckett. Duckett was the first innings hero. He batted brilliantly in the first innings. But now he was finding that, the Indians had plugged it. They were bowling closer to his body, not allowing him that cut shot. And they bowled pretty well. So, and then when Crawley was given out to LBW to Bumrah, and of course he referred it and he was still out. It was 18 for 2 at tea. And if anybody thought that after tea there would be a fight back, There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. Jadeja on these kind of pitches on a wearing track in front of his home crowd, he was not going to let up. There is no way baseball can work against spinners on a turning track, and he showed that. 5 wickets. Jadeja picked up 5 wickets, and in no time England were left reeling. Kuldeep Yadav came back. He picked up a couple of wickets. Ashwin chipped in with a wicket, and suddenly England didn't know what hit them. 80 for 8 they were. Thanks to Mark Wood throwing his bat around in the last couple of overs, they reached about 122. But still, that's nothing. Their first innings deficit itself was 126. And here they were 122 all out. So literally India's 430 for 4 declared meant nothing. But let's look at it this way. For most of the day, the Indian batsmen were at the crease. Young batsmen. Jaiswal, very young. Sarfraz, debut, so very young. Shubman Gill, who missed his century, he made 91. Again, pretty young batsman. Relatively inexperienced. But they handled the bowling. Even Kuldeep Yadav, he handled the English bowling quite easily on this track on the 4th day. So right through the 4th day, virtually for 2 sessions, the bat dominated the ball. It was only in the last session that England collapsed, the batsmen collapsed. Maybe psychologically they were not up to it. Maybe they didn't know what hit them. Maybe the fight had been knocked out of them. Maybe they knew baseball was not the answer to taking on the Indian spinners on Indian pitches, especially when you are batting last. That is the sum total of what happened in this test. Terrific batting by the Indian youngsters, the newcomers. Of course, Rohit also batted very well in the first innings. And added to that, brilliant bowling, excellent fielding is what really cooked England's goose. So they go into the 4th test, down by 2 tests, and unless they come up with some answers and come up with some proper answers, this baseball is not an answer really. Let's be frank about it. Yesterday I said England has to press the kill switch or the self-destruct button of this baseball, and I've been proved right. It's not a very nice thing to say, but yes, I've been proved right. This baseball has not worked, and it's not going to work, especially if you have to bat last on Indian pitches. And it's better England realizes that and starts playing a lot more good cricket. And look, this is not, like I said, this is not the first choice Indian team. If you can't get the better of them, then there is something seriously wrong with your cricket. Right now, in India are on top of them, top of England. India own England. The Indian bowlers and batsmen own England. And that's the lovely, happy story that we have at the end of the 3rd test. So let's look forward to the 4th test. Maybe there'll be better tidings for India, better tidings for the Indian spinners, better tidings for the young cricketers. With that, see you. Good night.